Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey everybody, Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. I am here with my co-host, JC.
Wendy,
hey,
it's
JC.
a pleasure to be back. Thank you so much for having me back to our show. It's great to hear you today.
Absolutely. I could not do this without you, and everybody needs to know that. Oh, I'm so excited about our guest today. We are going to be talking about employment law and really focusing on how our listeners can stay ahead of the legal curve with the race for talent by paying attention to the law and making sure you're not a company that intentionally or unintentionally violates someone's rights. So with that said, welcome Adam Kemper, managing partner of Workplace Law Firm. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, the past few years, it's been like this for quite some time, but I'll say since the pandemic, lawyers, whether employment lawyers or lawyers outside of employment, y'all are staying a little bit busy, huh?
It's crazy. I often say that, the workplace of today is nothing like the workplace of yesterday. And it's also like the workplace is going to be different tomorrow as well. So it's just like, it's just a lot to stay on top of everything. And to your point, it keeps us all very busy. So
yeah. It really does. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now, especially the part where you worked at the EEOC.
So going back, that's all the way back to my law school days, 15 plus years ago. But I did do an internship at the EEOC where I was investigating cases that were brought for workplace discrimination during the recession in 2008. So the EEOC was flooded with just wrongful termination after wrongful termination type claims. And they could use all the help they can get, including from law students. So I started there, and then I transitioned to a small firm known as the Amlong firm, Karen and Bill Amlong. Mm-hmm. And they're most well known for bringing a pretty well known sexual harassment case, Farragher v. City of Boca Raton. It's in every textbook in the country in employment law. So they brought that case to the Supreme Court, and we worked on a number of very interesting cases on behalf of claimants who were suing their employers for things like wrongful termination and wage and hour. And then after about 2.5 years, I switched to the dark side, which is the representing companies and defending companies in workplace matters. Both the wrongful termination type claim, the wage and hour, the breach of contract, as well as some commercial litigation. I did that for about 10 years. I switched over to one additional firm. And then 2 years ago, I opened the Workplace Law Firm, where I'm now focused on utilizing all that knowledge that I've gained in those various capacities to provide proactive and preventative consulting to business owners so they can avoid being sued and they can stay in compliance and do right by their employees.
Wow. That's an interesting turn of events there. And definitely, you're the person people need to go to. When I was reading your profile a long time ago, I was like, he actually worked at the EEOC. So you still can't, read their minds and know what they're going to do because times change. But that's just amazing. Well, I want to, I have so many questions for you, and I know you have the answers. I want to talk about, how employment laws affect attraction and retention of employees from a company's aspect. So what are your thoughts on that?
There's definitely a correlation there. And I'm happy that by asking that question, you're shedding light on that correlation. Because a lot of people, they don't think about the fact that by being out of compliance, it affects their ability to attract new employees. And it also affects their ability to retain. So why is that? The reason is because employees are making their decisions whether to stay with the company or join a company based on a variety of factors. Okay, most of those are compensation and benefits, workplace environment, workplace culture. And if they catch wind that a company is out of compliance, that's another factor, that's a consideration that they will think about as far as, should I be staying here? Should I go work somewhere else that maybe is in compliance? And as far as the candidates go, if they hear about a publicly filed lawsuit, which shows that the company has been out of compliance, regardless of the outcome of that case, that's information. And they will use that to decide whether or not they want to potentially join this organization. And maybe they would rather join an organization that has not been sued for a workplace violation. So there's definitely the correlation there. I do think that as HR professionals and employment law practitioners, we need to spend more time talking about it with our clients.
Yeah.
So they see the value of putting themselves in compliance. Not only because it's the right thing to do, you don't want to be sued, you want to be in compliance, but also because it helps with retention and recruitment, which affects your bottom line, by the way.
Yeah, 100%, right? I mean, who wants to work for companies that have been sued for violating people's rights? You know who wants to work for them? The people that want to sue the companies, you know? So
Exactly.
They'll say, oh, you were sued and you lost, and it doesn't sound like, based on social media and all the information everyone has access to, doesn't sound like you've done a darn thing about it or change your practices. So yeah, hire me because I plan on suing you too. So it's, you know, I laugh when I say this, but it's the truth. You know, there's people out there that will, I mean, just like with workers' comp fraud and everything, they do things just to get into companies that have, you know, either intentionally or unintentionally do the wrong thing so that they can make money because they don't want to work. So it's very, very important. Oh, I have so many more questions to ask you, and we will do that coming up in our session too. But I want to talk about things like, you know, ocean safety and minimum wage and overtime laws. Actually, I have a whole bunch more fun things to talk about. Everybody, thanks for listening to us in our first session of this five-part series on staying ahead of the legal curve with your race for talent. We'll be back soon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.